The first time she said she couldn't afford the date, it wasn't her voice that broke me, it was the way her shoulders subtly collapsed, like she had already apologized to the world too many times for simply existing. That single moment carried the weight of years of quiet struggle, of counting coins before counting dreams, of learning how to smile while bracing for disappointment. Before the story pulls you any deeper, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to the channel if stories like this still matter to you. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across places we may never see. Her name was Emily Carter, and she walked through life like someone afraid of taking up space. We met in the most ordinary way possible, standing in line at a small neighborhood bookstore, both reaching for the same worn paperback about people who fall in love when they least expect it. She laughed softly, a restrained sound, and let me take the book even though I offered it back. That small moment set the tone for everything that followed, because Emily was always giving, always stepping aside, always choosing less for herself without saying a word. I learned later that she worked 2 jobs, one as a library assistant during the day and another at a quiet cafe in the evenings, saving every spare dollar to help her younger brother through college after their father passed away and their mother's health began to fail. She never told this story like it was a tragedy. She told it like it was normal, like hardship was simply part of the weather. As weeks passed, our connection deepened through long walks, shared coffees, and conversations that felt like they picked up from another lifetime. I noticed how she would hesitate before ordering anything, how her eyes scanned menus not for what she wanted but for what was cheapest. The night she finally admitted she couldn't afford the date was the night everything shifted inside me. Not because of the money, but because of the fear behind her words, the fear that honesty would cost her something precious. She expected rejection. She expected judgment. What she didn't expect was understanding. I had grown up differently. Not wealthy, but safe. Bills were paid. The fridge was full. Dreams were encouraged instead of postponed. And standing across from Emily, I realized how uneven the ground beneath us had been all along. Yet love doesn't measure worth in bank balances. It measures it in courage, in resilience, in the quiet strength of someone who keeps going even when no one is watching. I wanted her to know that this moment, this date, wasn't an expense to me. It was an investment in something real. I wanted to keep dating her after this too, not because I could afford it, but because I couldn't afford to lose her. From that point on, the challenges didn't magically disappear. If anything, they became clearer. Emily struggled with guilt, with the feeling that she was being carried instead of walking alongside me. She worried about being a burden, about the imbalance she imagined everyone could see. I struggled too, learning how to love without rescuing, how to support without making her feel small. We had to unlearn the stories we told ourselves, hers about being undeserving, mine about fixing everything with effort alone. Progress came slowly, in quiet victories. She began to choose what she truly wanted once in a while. I learned to listen more and assume less. There were nights when exhaustion hung between us, when her hands smelled like coffee grounds and old books, when my own doubts crept in, whispering that love shouldn't be this complicated. But then there were moments that made everything worth it. Sunday mornings cooking together with whatever ingredients we had. Sharing silence that felt full instead of awkward. Watching her laugh freely when she forgot, just for a second, to be careful. Love didn't arrive like a grand gesture. It grew like a plant pushing through concrete, stubborn and alive. The turning point came when Emily was offered a promotion at the library, a role she had quietly dreamed about but never believed she deserved. The raise wasn't life-changing, but the recognition was. I watched her stand taller that day, watched her eyes fill with something new, not relief, but pride. She began to see herself differently, not as someone barely holding on, but as someone building something meaningful despite the odds. And in that growth, our relationship transformed too. We became partners in the truest sense, not equal in circumstance, but equal in commitment. Time passed, and life kept testing us, as it always does. Her mother's health worsened before it improved. My own career stumbled before it stabilized. But we faced each chapter together, no longer afraid to talk about fear, no longer ashamed of vulnerability. The memory of that early confession about not being able to afford a date stayed with us, not as a wound, but as a reminder. A reminder that love begins when honesty feels risky and kindness answers anyway. If this story is stirring something inside you, if it reminds you of a moment when someone chose you without conditions, or when you wish someone had, please take a second near the end of this video to like, share, and comment. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need them most. Emily eventually saved enough to take me out on a date she planned herself. It wasn't expensive. It was thoughtful. Every detail reflected how deeply she listened, how much she cared. And standing there, watching her glow with confidence she once lacked, I realized that love hadn't saved her. She had saved herself, and I had simply stayed. Before this story ends, I want you to comment one thing you believe makes love truly last, whether it's patience, honesty, sacrifice, or kindness. In the end, this isn't a story about money or dates or who pays for what. It's a story about seeing someone fully and choosing them anyway. About understanding that the richest moments in life often come wrapped in simplicity and sincerity. Emily once worried she couldn't afford love. The truth was, she had been paying for it all along with courage, resilience, and a heart brave enough to be honest. And that kind of love is priceless.